on consumers? Is there any indication when water production could resume?
We haven't really been told anything yet. And let me put on record that water coverage across the region is a major issue. There are places where you go, they are not covered by the Ghana Water Company. Somehow, some way, the Community Water and Sanitation Agency is covering parts of the region. There are parts that do not have water at all. And so, supply of water across the Volta region is a major issue. And now that we are having to deal with the temporary shutdown in whole municipalities, the only thing is that people will now have to rely on buying water from, private individuals who run facilities that provide water.
Faisal, thank you so much for your time with us on the program. Faisal Abdul Idris speaking to us from who updating us on the water situation there. This is still the midday news on 3FM 92.7. Let's bring you some more stories. Now, since its establishment in 2002, the Navrongo Community Health Nursing Training College has contributed significantly to the training of health professionals to meet the country's healthcare demands. But despite its positive impact in training professionals to deliver quality healthcare, especially in communities, limited infrastructure remains a hurdle for the college. Correspondent Castro Senyala, he was at the school and filed this report.
The Navrongo Community Health Nursing Training College, established in 2002, currently has a student population of 1,124. Since its establishment, the college has trained community health nurses to meet the increasing demand for highly skilled health professionals. But despite its significant contribution, the college, among other challenges, is grappling with inadequate accommodation and classrooms. Elizabeth Dujin is the principal of the college.
So we have problems with limited infrastructure. That's lecture halls and then hostels. The existing ones now is not spacious enough to accommodate students, making it very difficult to contain them. Most of them, because of that, are living outside campus, and it kind of way interrupts with teaching.
With a vision to attain and maintain the highest academic excellence through quality tuition and effective supervision, the principal of the college has appealed for the expansion of classroom and accommodation facilities.
So I'm calling on the government to do as the needful in constructing some of these amenities to improve students' teaching and learning on campus.
In the face of the challenges, the college continues to improve its academic performance. In the 2024-2025 academic year, the college presented 230 candidates for the Nursing and Midwifery Council examination. Out of that number, 225, representing 97.8%, passed.
Students' performance with regards to council exams is something to write home about.
And that was a report by my colleague in the area there. To some other stories this afternoon, we're taking you to some news related to the Public Accounts Committee, where it has started its final zonal hearing to consider 4 reports by the Auditor General, including the management and utilization of the District Assembly's Common Fund, public accounts, as well as public accounts of pre-tertiary institutions and public universities, as well as colleges of education. It will also probe the special report for the Auditor General on government's claims and outstanding for the year ending December 31, 2024. My colleague Christian Yali, he will join us and he will update us on the latest happenings from the Public Accounts Committee, the sitting currently ongoing, and the latest concerns, particularly when they have to consider 4 reports by the Auditor General, including the management and utilization of the District Assembly's Common Fund, public accounts for pre-tertiary institutions and public universities. Christian is joining us. Christian, thank you so much for joining us. Talk to us. What is the latest from the Public Accounts Committee?
All right, Crosby. So about 2 ministries have appeared. We had the Ministry of Labor, Jobs and Employment come earlier. They had some teething issues that basically deals with untraceable records. In fact, the initial issue had to do with some amount of 398,000 Ghana cedis that were not, supported by relevant document, and so the Auditor General had to reject that amount. And mind you, Crosby, we are talking about the special audit report of the Auditor General, which talks about outstanding claims that government needs to honor for the year ending 31st December 2024. And so it came up that, this 398,000 Ghana cedis payment was processed by the Ministry of Labour, Jobs and Employment for 2024, and they cited activities that were never carried out. And so they were to pay explanations gotten from the ministry, a number of activities, especially training programs for the regional directors, were to be carried out, yet those activities did not happen. So although the end of year regional directors workshop and training did not take place, invoices as well as bank transfer advices were still submitted to the Controller and Accountant General for payment. And so the Auditor General dismissed the claim as outstanding government payment. Now, the Public Accounts Committee Chairperson, Abinose Asare, has said that incident is one that, raises concerns about the need for reforms in how the Controller and Accountant General disburses funds. So we can take a listen to this Labour Ministry Monetary Affairs and the fact that they submitted invoices and bank transfer advices for payment of about 398,000 cedis for training programs that did not happen at all. So we can take a listen to excerpts of the deliberations as occurred on the floor during the Public Accounts Committee hearing.
After the auditors wrote to Japan Motors that this is it, they didn't respond to Japan Motors, but then they wrote to the ministry telling us that we owe them this amount. And so that is where now we are taking it from.
Japan Motors wrote to the ministry that we are owing them.
Yes.
So all along, there is no communication between you and them for a long time that you are owing them. No communication until...
And they have written to the ministry saying that the ministry owes them some money. Yet the asset for which, they are claiming the money, the ministry is telling us that they don't have records, they can't find it. How do you reconcile the two?
The ministry, as we stand now, we don't have enough documentation on it. So when the auditors came, we made them aware that we don't have enough documentation on this. For the price adjustments of the pickup, that is selling automotive, they have been paid, but then they are saying that there was delay in payment. So they computed some interest for us to pay, of which Ministry of Finance was made aware of.
My issue is, where is the asset on which they are laying that claim on? That's all I'm asking.
The asset is not in the ministry.
So if it's not in the ministry, and then you sit here and say they have written to you, and so now it's a charge, it is something that we should look into. I don't really understand. They are laying a claim on an asset which they say they have sold to you. We cannot find the assets. So then how do we confidently say that in 2018 the ministry wrote they did not respond? Relevant documents that should enable the transaction to get to the BTA stage.
Sometimes the entities want to commit the government before they miss out on the fund. And so some of these TVs and transactions will be done on the system, whereas the actual activity had not taken place.
We are going to who? We have to be paid per diems, allowances, the conference, and all that. So we have processed it on giveness. The activity has not taken place, but we have processed it on giveness, expecting that the funds will be released for us to execute that transaction. So this is some of it. Currently, we are going because the funds have not been released. But if it has been released, we will take the cash and go there and do payment. So it's not everything that we have SRE, invoices and all that. There are some we need the cash to move. So for training purposes, at times the cash is we process, cash is released, then we engage that.
Then we have a big problem to our Controller and Accountant General. So we should find a way to do things right. Moving forward, not from your end alone, but from Ministry of Finance, from the Controller and Accountant General, and the various ministries, departments, and agencies as well.
Sounds from the Public Accounts Committee sitting there, but earlier was my colleague Christian Yali updating us on what has been going on. To some other stories this afternoon, National Chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, has given a firm assurance that the NDC government will ensure that all resources given to local assemblies are properly accounted for by the DCEs. According to him, the government is committed to dealing with corruption, reducing waste of government resources. Now, the national chairman was speaking at the Bewa Palace in Yendi as part of his thank you tour of the northern region. Christopher Amwako, who has been following the development, is joining us with some more update. Christopher, thank you. What else has the NDC chairman been telling the constituencies visited so far?
Yes, so of course, apart from giving the assurances that the NDC government so is interested in probity and accountability and is going to ensure that all local assemblies account for the resources given them. He's also been giving indications that the NDC government will ensure that the northern region that has given NDC its maximum support over the years is not left out in the share of the national cake. He's giving assurances that in the areas of roads, the big push program is taking place in most parts of the northern region. When it comes to the Yendi and Tamale water issues, he's giving a firm assurances that it is one of the topmost priority of the President, John Dramani Mahama, and that will be addressed before his tenure ends. And so the people of the northern region should be rest assured that they are in the good books of the NDC government, and development will be what they will see in this particular government. Let's take a listen to what the NDC chairman has been saying.
She remembers fragments, moments of awareness, moments of darkness, and long gaps she still cannot explain.
We apologize for the wrong insert there, but we bring you the voice of the chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, in subsequent bulletins. This is still the midday news here on 3FM 92.7 live, also on all our social media platforms at 3FM 927. Let's bring you some other stories before we take leave of you this afternoon in relation to the Auditor General, because it has disallowed a payment of 398,000 Ghana cedis made by the Ministry of Labour, Jobs and Employment in 2024 with activities that were not executed. According to the audit findings, the ministry proceeded and processed the payment and the document for an end-of-year regional directors workshop and training program that never took place. And despite this, invoices and bank transfers were submitted to the Controller and Accountant General's Department for payment processing. We'll be keeping an eye on the happenings of the Public Accounts Committee, and we'll bring you details in our subsequent bulletins. But that's how we draw the curtains on the midday news here on 3FM 92.7. There's more news on our website, 3news.com. I am Noble Crosby Annan. Have a great afternoon. Business News is up next. Bye-bye.
Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Ghana maintains fourth highest IMF debtor in Africa as borrowing rises to nearly $3.9 billion despite improving debt indicators. Also, Bank of Ghana hints at policy rate tightening, warning prolonged Middle East conflict and rising oil prices could threaten Ghana's inflation gains and economic stability.
So far, early indications point to a re-acceleration of headline inflation in several advanced and emerging market economies, prompting several central banks that have commenced easing cycles to pause.
And investor appetite soars as government smashes Treasury bill target with a 1.5 billion cedi oversubscription. I am Michael Obodu. Details of these and many other stories lined up for you. Do stay tuned. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story. And Ghana has maintained its position as the fourth highest debtor to the International Monetary Fund in Africa, with the country's outstanding obligations to the fund rising to about $3.9 billion. The increase follows additional inflows under the IMF Extended Credit Facility Program, even as the fund commended Ghana for progress in stabilizing the economy and improving its debt outlook. The following three Business News Desk report has the details.
According to the latest IMF data, Ghana owed the fund 2.72 billion special drawing rights in May 2026, up from 1.96 billion SDR recorded in January this year. The rise in the debt stock is linked to fresh inflows under Ghana's Extended Credit Facility Program with the IMF. Egypt remains Africa's largest IMF debtor, followed by Cote d'Ivoire and Kenya, while Angola and DR Congo complete the top six. Meanwhile, the IMF has praised Ghana for improvements in its debt situation and ongoing economic reforms after completing its latest review of the country's support program. The fund says Ghana's improving debt trajectory is creating room for development spending, but warned that strict fiscal discipline and stronger financial reforms are needed to sustain the gains. Government data also shows Ghana's total debt stock fell to 641 billion cedis at the end of 2025, down from over 726 billion cedis in 2024, with the debt to GDP ratio declining sharply to 45.3%.
And that was a three Business News Desk report. Meanwhile, the IMF is expected to present Ghana's sixth and final program review, together with the country's request for a new policy coordination instrument, to its executive board on July 27. The mission team is returning to Washington, D.C. to prepare its final staff report ahead of the board meeting. The team will make a strong case for approval of Ghana's program as the country moves toward the next phase of economic reforms and policy coordination within the fund. Now, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Esiama, has warned that the prolonged conflict in the Middle East, which has disrupted global oil supply routes and triggered sharp increases in energy prices, could reverse Ghana's recent inflation gains and worsen pressure on consumers and businesses. He was speaking at the opening of the 130th Monetary Policy Committee meeting, which seeks to assess mounting external risks, domestic inflation pressures, and the broader outlook of the Ghanaian economy.
The closure of the Strait of Hormuz has triggered a sustained surge in global energy prices. And the IMF has revised its 2026 global growth projection downward to 3.1% from an initial estimate of 3.3%, citing the adverse demand and supply effects of the conflict. So far, early indications point to a re-acceleration of headline inflation in several advanced and emerging market economies, prompting several central banks that have commenced easing cycles to pause or even to reverse course. So for a commodity exporting, energy importing economy such as ours, Ghana, the transmission channels of this external shock are multiple and material, through fuel prices, through transportation costs, through import bills, and ultimately consumer price dynamics.
Meanwhile, Dr. Johnson Esiama says the central bank will reassess the effectiveness of monetary policy transmission and lending conditions during the MPC meeting amid concerns that despite improving macroeconomic indicators and easing inflation, credit expansion and broader economic activity may still not be responding strongly enough to policy measures.
It will enhance the liquidity forecasting framework and maintain conditionality around the inflation targeting regime, with continued emphasis on forward-looking policies and the anchoring of inflation expectations. The corridor reform that has been under discussion at these meetings is directly consistent with the PCI's monetary framework pillar. The PCI will also focus on strengthening the bulk balance sheet over the medium term by limiting quasi-fiscal activities, improving transparency and oversight of the domestic gold purchase program, addressing the operational constraints relating to the DGPP and the broader foreign exchange intermediation architecture. These will be part of the reform agenda in this future engagement. Of course, the foreign exchange framework and reserve management objective will also continue to be assessed.
Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Esiama, speaking there. Now, government's domestic borrowing strategy saw another major victory on Friday, May 15, 2026, as its weekly Treasury bill auction recorded a massive oversubscription, signaling a robust resurgence in domestic investor confidence. According to the latest auction results, government successfully raised 5.475 billion cedis from the domestic market, comfortably exceeding its initial target of 4.3 billion cedis across the 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day tenors. There's more in the full report.
Investors aggressively put together a total of 5.798 billion citizen bids, representing a highly favorable subscription rate of 134.84%. Out of the total bids tendered, government chose to accept 5.425 billion cedis. This aggressive outcome marks the second consecutive week of oversubscription. It firmly cements a turnaround for the Treasury, which recently broke a grueling 7-week streak of undersubscription, a challenging period where market appetite repeatedly fell short of the state's short-term financing needs. A closer look at the data shows that the short end of the curve drove the bulk of the demand. The 91-day bill pulled in the highest volume with 3.833 billion cedis in bids, of which government accepted 3.653 billion cedis at a yield of 4.91%. The 182-day bill attracted 709.83 million cedis in tenders, with 671.72 million cedis accepted at an interest rate of 7.04%. Meanwhile, the 364-day bill secured 1.255 billion cedis in bids, with the state taking 1.150 billion cedis at a yield of 10.38%. The 1.1498 billion cedis, representing 34.82% oversubscription rate, demonstrates a refreshing wave of liquidity and renewed market trust in local sovereignty instruments, providing government with a comfortable buffer as it navigates its fiscal targets for the year.
And on that note, that's how we end today's edition of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more stories, please check out our website as 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe.